mean, we saw a lot of strategizing from the left come to this final round, but how unexpected were these results?
I mean, I think it's fair to say that this was really a sort of bombshell when these sort of lines started crossing our newswire this morning. This evening, I should say. This was really totally unexpected. As you were outlining, the Rassemblement National, the far right, was really expected very widely, according to all the pollings for the last few weeks, to really sweep. This was going to be the election in which they came basically the closest they've ever come in their many-decade history to power. That is not the story that we're telling today. We're telling the story of a group of the left coalition that has come together, that has managed to muster the greatest number of votes within the Assemblée Nationale for this round. And in fact, even Macron's party, the very unpopular Macron, famously unpopular in recent weeks, managed to also get more than the Rassemblement National and Marine Le Pen's party. This was really completely unexpected. And when you think about kind of what the composition of this parliament is going forward, the issue that you have is, despite this upset, there is no absolute majority within this government. So basically, though it did work to have the sort of alignment within these parties in order to basically block the far right, which is a long-standing French tradition, one that we didn't know whether or not it was going to bear out this time around, it does leave this country within something of a limbo, because this is not a parliament where it is very easy to see where the power is going to flow.
And as you say, Oliver, this is not a country that is used to dealing with coalition governments and these sorts of negotiations, right? So how does government get formed? Who's going to be Prime Minister?
Well, that is exactly the question. I mean, Gabriel Attal is the prime minister right now. He spoke tonight. He said that he will tender his resignation to the president tomorrow. At that point, what is the expectation in the procedure is that Macron will then go traditionally to the party with the greatest number of seats, in this case the left, in order to give them the opportunity to begin to form a government. But this is where things get interesting, because this left coalition is composed of parties that are very disparate and who have very actually different views politically. It's not at all obvious where the sort of weighting is going to be on how far left this is going to be. I mean, we heard from Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is actually the leader of the part of the coalition that had the most number of votes, but is also the most contentious. Have a listen to what he had to say for a sort of flavor of the negotiations that we're going to have going forward.
We said it already last, and we reiterate this to the President of the Republic. We refuse to enter into negotiations with his party to make wheelings and dealings, especially having fought relentlessly for 7 years against his policies of social abuse and ecological inaction. The votes of the French people have just confirmed this.
And there you have Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is not necessarily the designated leader of this far-left group. He is certainly one of the most outspoken, but really he was the first one to speak after the exit polls dropped, really wanting to put himself forward to say, you know, I have this sort of mandate and we should be able to form a government. But it's not really up to him. And the question is, we don't actually have the full final arithmetic here. I mean, there is also a possible world where this left coalition decides to say sideline him and actually have a more centrist left government that could combine with Emmanuel Macron, which is probably why we're not going to hear from Macron this evening, and he's not waiting until tomorrow for a bit of the dust to settle. Anything, though, could really happen. What is somewhat clear is there is likely some gridlock looking forward here in the French Parliament.